There's a reason the Lord commands us to guard our hearts, because from the heart flows the very source of life. When emotions are left unprotected, they become open doors where chaos can freely enter. Anger ushers in ruin. Jealousy breeds bitterness. Fear welcomes doubt. And unrestrained sorrow can drag the soul into the depths of despair. But when emotions are laid at God's feet, He takes His place as the guardian of your inner being. He defends your heart like a mighty fortress, shielding it from overreaction, deception, and emotional sabotage. Make no mistake, your feelings are not always truthful. They can mislead. They often speak from unhealed wounds, from disappointments that still ache, from expectations that were never met. And if you listen to every emotion as though it were truth, you will drift far from God's plan and closer to the cliffs of regret. Hear this: not every feeling deserves to be followed. Not every tear needs to fall publicly. Not every opinion needs to be voiced. Real maturity is when you pause long enough to ask, is this emotion leading me toward God or away from Him? That is the question that separates the wise from the impulsive. That is the question that builds legacies instead of ruins them. Because controlling your emotions isn't about pretending you feel nothing. It's about knowing how to respond when everything in you is trembling. And God honors the one who chooses discipline over disaster. He honors the one who says, yes, I feel broken, but I will not lash out. Yes, I feel offended, but I will not destroy with my words. Yes, I am afraid, but I will not let fear be my master. This is not weakness. This is the highest form of strength. A strength that flows not from muscles or might, but from submission to the will of God. And do not think for 1 second that God is silent in your moments of emotional turmoil. No, He is closest when the storm inside you rages the loudest. He is watching, waiting, whispering, "Let me take this from you. Let me quiet the fire. Let me give you my peace." But the problem is, many of us run to everything else before we run to God. We run to distractions, to validation, to venting, to bitterness, to revenge. And when these things fail to heal us, we collapse, wondering why peace won't come. Peace only comes when you go to the source of it. And God is not just the creator of peace, He is peace. You cannot find calmness if you keep feeding your emotions with chaos. You cannot find clarity if you are drowning your mind in noise. You cannot be free if you are always reacting. So stop reacting and start reflecting. Before you speak, reflect. Before you post, reflect. Before you accuse, reflect before you accuse. Reflect. Before you accuse, reflect. Before you explode, reflect. And in that moment of reflection, invite God into the decision. Because when God enters that moment, He gives you perspective. He shows you the end from the beginning. He reminds you that this feeling, this anger, this fear, this sadness is temporary, but the damage it can cause may not be. So choose restraint. Choose stillness. Choose to pause, not because you're weak, but because you are led by something higher than emotion. You are led by divine wisdom. You are guided by the one who sees beyond the now. And what a gift it is to not be controlled by how you feel, but to be led by what you know, that God is greater than your storm, that God is stronger than your struggle, that God's voice is more powerful than your emotion. If you trust Him, truly trust Him, then your emotions become a tool, not a trap. They can be used to serve you, not sabotage you. Anger can become holy boldness. Sadness can turn into compassion. Fear can become reverence, but only when surrendered to God. Left to yourself, your emotions will use you, but under God's authority, they will serve you. That is the difference between bondage and freedom. That is the difference between chaos and purpose. And every day you must choose, will I be led by fleeting emotion, or will I be anchored in eternal truth? There is a sacred strength in silence, an inner power in restraint that the world often mocks, but God honors. In a culture where people are applauded for speaking first and thinking later, where every offense must be answered, every emotion expressed, and every slight avenged, the one who chooses stillness is seen as weak. But in truth, it is far more powerful to hold your peace than to lose your temper. God never created you to be reactive, like a leaf tossed by the wind. You were created to be rooted, like a tree planted by the waters, unshaken, unmoved, steady. Emotions come and go like storms, but your faith must be constant. And that constancy can only come when you hand your emotions over to the one who knows the depths of your soul. He knows why you feel the way you feel. He sees the history behind your triggers. He sees the childhood pain that fuels your anger, the hidden rejection that drives your insecurity, the silent fears that tighten your chest in the dark. But even with all that, He still calls you to rise above it. He does not excuse you based on your wounds. He calls you to healing so you are no longer bound by them. And that healing begins when you say, God, I don't want to be a prisoner of my emotions anymore. I don't want to destroy relationships because I couldn't hold my tongue. I don't want to damage my future because I couldn't process my past. That kind of surrender, raw, real, unfiltered, is where true emotional control is born. Because God does not give you surface-level peace. He works from the inside out. He transforms your heart, renews your mind, strengthens your will, and teaches you how to walk in patience, even when everything in you wants to run wild. The world will keep telling you to express yourself, but not everything in you is worth expressing. Some thoughts were never meant to see the light. Some feelings were only meant to be laid down before God in secret. Because if you keep pouring your emotions out on everyone around you, you'll start bleeding on people who didn't cut you. That's not healing, that's harm. God says, come to Him with your emotions, not just your actions. Come to Him with your sadness, your rage, your confusion, your doubt, your shame. Lay it all down. Let Him sort it out. Let Him wash it in His wisdom. Because if you don't process your emotions with God, you will end up projecting them onto the world. You'll see enemies where there are none. You'll mistake correction for attack. You'll think God is silent when He's simply telling you to be still. Stillness is not punishment, it's protection. God is not asking you to suppress your emotions, He's asking you to surrender them. And when you do, you'll find that the fire of rage becomes a light of discernment, that the tears of sorrow become rivers of compassion, and that the winds of fear no longer carry you because God Himself becomes your anchor. And when God is your anchor, you can walk into the chaos of life and remain untouched by the waves. People can misunderstand you, mock you, attack you, and still you will not lose your peace. That is not natural, that is divine. That is the result of a soul mastered by God, not by fleeting feelings. Emotions are meant to be signals, not steering wheels. They can alert you, but they should never lead you. Only God should lead you. And when you let Him lead, even your emotions begin to align with His truth. Your heart begins to calm. Your reactions begin to change. The same people who once provoked you will lose their power over you. Why? Because God is now the one shaping your responses. And His responses are always filled with purpose, never impulsive. That is the true victory. When you no longer have to win arguments to feel in control. When you no longer have to shout to feel heard. When you no longer have to shout to feel heard. When you no longer need revenge to feel validated, because God has filled you so deeply that the opinions of others no longer stir the storm. And even if the storm rages, it cannot enter your spirit. You have been sealed. You have been strengthened. You have been taught by the Most High how to rule your own soul. And that is something no person, no insult, no betrayal can take away from you. But understand this level of emotional strength does not come overnight. It is built, it is forged in the fires of daily surrender. It is practiced in the moments when you want to lose control but choose to pray instead. It is built when you want to lash out but choose to walk away. It is strengthened when you are tempted to speak in anger but choose to speak life instead. Every time you choose God over your emotion, you are building spiritual muscle. You are becoming unshakable, and that is what God wants for you. Not to be cold, not to be distant, but to be wise, disciplined, and strong, so that when the emotional waves rise, you are not tossed around like everyone else. You stand tall, you breathe deeply, you say nothing if God hasn't spoken, and in your silence, in your calm, in your self-control, people will see something in you they cannot explain. They will see the mark of God's authority resting on your spirit. And that, my friend, is how you rise. Not through emotional explosions, but through divine composure, the kind that only comes from walking daily with God. The world will tempt you daily to lose your emotional footing. You will be tested not once, not twice, but over and over again. Someone will say something sharp just to see if you bleed. Someone will push your buttons to see if you explode. Situations will arise to try to make you question your worth, your identity, your purpose. And in those moments, your emotions will rise like a wave. But hear this clearly. Just because the wave rises doesn't mean you have to drown in it. When you belong to God, you have authority over the wave. You have the right to say, "No, I will not lose myself today." You can feel the heat of anger without letting it consume you. You can acknowledge the sting of pain without becoming bitter. That is not emotional suppression, it is spiritual awareness. And too many people confuse surrender with silence. But silence alone is not power. Power comes when your silence is filled with purpose, when your restraint is grounded in God's strength, when your peace is not passive but active, guarding your spirit like a soldier at the gate. God does not call you to be a victim of your emotions. He calls you to master them, not by might, not by pretending you feel nothing, but by constantly pouring every emotion back into His hands. Let Him mold it, let Him filter it, because your heart cannot lead you well if it's unhealed. Your thoughts cannot guide you if they are ruled by wounds. But when you spend time with God, when you pour out your frustrations, your confusions, your fears to Him in secret, He begins to clean the emotional lens through which you see the world. And suddenly what once made you explode now makes you pause. What once made you retreat now makes you rise. This is the work of God, and it is not always loud. Sometimes it's in the quiet transformation of a soul that no longer bends to chaos. You start noticing it in the way you carry yourself, in the way you no longer explain yourself to everyone. You no longer react to every opinion, every criticism, every mood swing of others. Why? Because your spirit is now anchored in something deeper than emotion. It is anchored in God. And that anchor keeps you steady in storms that used to destroy you. Make no mistake, emotional maturity is not a personality trait. It is a spiritual weapon. When others lose their heads, you keep your crown. When others throw stones, you build bridges. Not because you are soft, but because God has taught you that peace is more powerful than vengeance. And He honors those who choose His way over their feelings. He lifts up those who humble their emotions and exalt His wisdom. And when you walk with that kind of strength, the world begins to take notice. People wonder how you stay so calm in the middle of chaos, how you smile when others are angry, how you remain respectful when disrespected. But what they don't see is the secret place, the hours you spent on your knees asking God to calm your heart, the private battles you fought to not give in to the rage, the silent tears you cried while asking God to give you the strength to keep your mouth shut, to walk away, to not lose control. That is where emotional power is born. In the place where no one is watching but God. And God sees. He sees every time you choose peace over war. He sees every time you choose understanding over reaction. And He rewards it not with applause, but with wisdom, with favor, with inner stability that no man can give and no man can take away. The ability to control your emotions is not weakness. It is alignment. Alignment with the will of God. Alignment with the character of God. You become a vessel through which peace flows into rooms filled with conflict. You become a calming presence in an agitated world, not because you have no emotions, but because your emotions have been placed under divine management. That's the secret. Not to fight your feelings, but to guide them. To tell your anger, you may knock, but you don't get to enter. To tell your sadness, you may sit with me, but you will not define me. To tell your fear, you may whisper, but I choose to trust God's voice instead. This is how you take back your life, one emotion at a time, brought into the light of God's truth. You are not unstable. You are not too broken. You are not too reactive. You are simply a soul that needs to return to its center. God, let Him be your compass. Let Him be your calm. And the next time your emotions rise like a flood, you'll know what to do. You'll go higher. You'll rise above. Because you've learned that the one who walks with God does not follow feelings. They follow purpose. And that purpose, when fueled by God's strength, will carry you through every test without losing the treasure of peace He placed inside you. When you understand that emotions are not your identity, everything begins to shift. You begin to see your anger not as a curse, but as a call to awareness. You begin to recognize that your fear is not the end of you. It's a signal to lean harder on God. Too often, people let a temporary emotion define a permanent identity. They say, I am an angry person, or I'm just emotional, or that's just how I am. No, that is not how God designed you. That is how pain shaped you. That is how trauma trained you. But God never intended your emotions to be your master. He intended them to be your servants. When you allow your emotions to dictate your actions, you give them power they were never meant to have. But when you bring those emotions to God, you take back your authority. And hear me now. There is no emotion too dark, too heavy, too messy for God to handle. He already knows what you feel. He already knows what you're holding back. You don't need to filter yourself in His presence. He invites you to be real with Him so He can be real with you. When you say, God, I am overwhelmed, I am on the edge, I'm about to break, that is not weakness, that is wisdom. Because it takes spiritual maturity to admit you need divine help. And the moment you do, something begins to shift inside of you. God doesn't just take the emotion away, sometimes He lets it stay so He can train you through it. Because the goal is not just peace in still waters. The goal is peace in the storm. Anybody can be calm when everything is going right. But emotional control is tested when nothing is going right. When the pressure is high, when the attacks come from every angle, and you still choose to respond with grace, with restraint, with dignity. That is where you grow. That is where God trains the warrior in you. And let me tell you, there is a warrior in you. Not a warrior of noise, but a warrior of wisdom. A warrior who knows when to speak and when to stay silent. A warrior who knows when to walk away and when to stand firm. Not every battle is worth your energy. Not every offense deserves your reply. Sometimes the greatest victory is your silence. Sometimes the most powerful weapon you have is peace. Because peace confuses the enemy. When the enemy expects you to explode and you stay calm, you shift the atmosphere. When others expect you to retaliate and you choose mercy, you disarm their control. That kind of power cannot be faked. It must be forged. And it is forged in the secret place where your emotions bow before God's authority and your reactions are filtered through His truth. But don't think for a moment that this process will always be easy. There will be days when you want to give in, days when your emotions scream louder than your prayers, days when you feel like you're slipping back into your old ways. And in those moments you must remind yourself you are not who you used to be. You may feel the old emotions rising, but you don't have to let them rule you. You may feel the urge to snap, to vent, to explode, but you have a choice now. You have the wisdom of God planted deep inside you, and it is stronger than your impulses. Emotions are quick, they want resolution now. But God is patient. God works over time. And the more you trust Him with your emotional responses, the more your spirit becomes disciplined. Discipline doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you don't bow. It means you acknowledge the feeling, but refuse to let it rule. And this kind of strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it's found in a whisper, in a breath, in the decision to say, God, take over. That quiet moment of surrender is more powerful than any outburst, because in that moment, you're not just avoiding conflict, you're building character. You're laying the foundation for future peace. You're protecting the version of yourself that God is shaping. Because every time you choose emotional control, you are preserving your purpose. You are guarding your anointing. You are maintaining your clarity. And that clarity is priceless in a world drowning in confusion. When you see through God's eyes, you understand that not everything requires a reaction. Some things require prayer. Some things require distance. Some things require silence. That's not avoidance, it's alignment. And when you live in alignment with God, you begin to experience a freedom that no emotional chaos can destroy. You walk differently. You speak differently. You move through the fire without being burned. Not because you're emotionless, but because your emotions are no longer your God. God is. And when He takes His rightful place in your heart, you will begin to experience a peace that surpasses understanding. A peace that cannot be shaken by betrayal, insult, or pain. Because God will not only calm the storm around you, He will calm the storm within you. And when that happens, you won't just survive life's challenges, you'll master them, one emotion at a time. Do not underestimate the damage that uncontrolled emotions can bring into your life. One word spoken in wrath can pierce deeper than a sword. One decision made in haste can open doors you were never meant to walk through. One moment of pride can shut out blessings God was preparing to pour over your life. You must understand, emotional control is not just about behaving better. It is about protecting your destiny. It is about building a spiritual shield around what God has placed inside you. Because when the enemy can't steal your faith, he'll come after your peace. He'll use frustration to poison your joy. He'll use offense to make you bitter. He'll use stress to make you impatient. And once you start reacting emotionally to everything, you become vulnerable, easy to manipulate, easy to offend, easy to derail. But when your emotions are governed by God, you become a different kind of person. You are no longer easily provoked. You don't jump at every insult. You don't lose sleep over every disagreement. You begin to live above the noise, and that is where God wants you. Above the noise, above the chaos, above the emotional drama of life. You may still feel it, but you are no longer ruled by it. This is not the result of positive thinking or personality. It is the result of spiritual transformation. When you spend time with God, when you consistently surrender your feelings to Him, He rewires how you think, how you perceive, how you respond. You begin to see life through a higher lens, and from that view, you no longer panic. You no longer rage. You no longer crumble. You understand that emotions are not enemies, but neither are they leaders. Emotions must take their rightful place beneath wisdom, beneath faith, beneath discernment. When feelings are surrendered to God's truth, they stop working against you and begin to work for your calling. Anger transforms into boldness. Grief becomes compassion. Even fear laid before the Lord shifts into holy reverence instead of panic. But this change isn't instant. It unfolds moment by moment, every time you choose God's path over your own. When you declare, "I could lash out, but I won't. I could shout, but I'll stay quiet. I could hate, but I'll embrace peace." These decisions may appear small, but in the Spirit, they are mighty victories. Each time you rise above your emotions, you mature. Each time you silence the urge to erupt, your strength multiplies. Each time you deny the flesh and say yes to God, you step into greater power than you held the day before. That kind of strength is uncommon, yet it is real, and it belongs to those who live each day in surrender to the Lord. And perhaps one of the greatest lies ever told is that emotions are more authentic than faith. That how you feel should always be followed no matter the cost. But that's not truth. That's deception. Because your feelings, while real, are not always right. And if you allow them to take the lead, they will lead you into destruction. But when God becomes your center, He teaches you how to filter every emotion through His wisdom. He teaches you how to slow down, to breathe, to pause and reflect before you act. He teaches you how to become steady in an unsteady world. And let me tell you something. There is a deep, holy strength in emotional steadiness. Not numbness, not denial, but spiritual control. A strength that keeps you from burning bridges that God built. A strength that keeps you from wounding those you love. A strength that preserves your relationships, your calling, your peace. Because not every battle is external. Many are internal. You may smile on the outside, but be at war on the inside. And if that war is not surrendered to God, it will eventually spill out and affect everything around you. That's why the battlefield of emotions must be taken seriously. That's why you must daily bring your soul before God and say, search me, clean me, reorder what's out of place. And God in His mercy will respond, not with shame, but with correction, not with punishment, but with guidance. He will begin to show you why you feel what you feel. He will expose the roots of your reactions. He will peel back the layers of old wounds, pride, fear, and unmet needs. And as painful as that process may be, it is the path to freedom. Because when you understand the why behind your emotions, you are no longer trapped by them. You begin to heal. You begin to grow. You begin to see that your emotions were never the enemy, only the unmanaged parts of your soul that needed God's order. And once He brings that order, you become powerful. Not in noise, not in reaction, but in presence. You walk into situations that once overwhelmed you, and now you are unmoved. You face triggers that used to break you, and now you respond with wisdom. That is the work of God. That is the fruit of surrender. And that is what awaits every person who says, God, teach me to master my emotions, not with coldness, but with truth, not with pride, but with purpose, not for people's approval, but so I may fulfill the calling you placed over my life with clarity, courage, and peace. There is a kind of freedom that only comes when you no longer allow your emotions to lead your life. It is not the freedom the world talks about, the kind that chases every feeling and calls it truth. No, this is a deeper freedom, a freedom that comes when your emotions are placed under the authority of God and not the authority of your mood or your environment. You begin to see things differently. You begin to respond from wisdom instead of impulse. And that shift, that inner transformation, begins to create peace not just around you, but within you. You no longer need to defend yourself every time you're misunderstood, because you know that God sees your heart. You no longer have to control every outcome, because you trust that God is working even when you don't see it. You no longer have to exhaust yourself trying to prove your point, because you have learned that some things are better handled in silence and prayer. You stop feeding arguments that were designed to pull you out of your peace. You stop fighting battles that God never assigned to you. You begin to let go, not because you're giving up, but because you are growing up. And spiritual growth looks like restraint. It looks like holding back when everything in you wants to retaliate. It looks like lifting your hands in prayer instead of using them to harm. It looks like crying in God's presence instead of screaming in someone else's face. That kind of emotional control is not weakness. It is strength at its highest form. It is the strength of a person who knows where their help comes from. It is the strength of someone who trusts that God will defend them, vindicate them, heal them, and fight for them. It is the power of one who no longer needs to be right to be at peace. Because peace is not found in victory over people. It is found in victory over your own spirit. And when you learn to master your emotions through God, you become unshakable. The world may shift, but you remain grounded. People may disappoint you, but you remain stable because your reactions are no longer determined by others. They are anchored in your relationship with God. That kind of life is rare, but it is possible. And it begins when you say, God, take control. Teach me to respond, not react. Teach me to reflect before I speak. Teach me to trust you more than I trust my own emotions. Because emotions, though real and powerful, were never meant to be the compass of your life. If you live by emotion, you will always be up one day and down the next, happy when things go well, crushed when they don't. But when God becomes your compass, even in your deepest feelings, you remain steady. You may still cry, but you will not collapse. You may still get angry, but you will not destroy. You may still feel fear, but you will not run, because now your responses are filtered through a deeper knowing and inner security that God is in control. That even when things feel out of control, He is still holding you. He is still guiding you. He is still teaching you how to carry your emotions without letting them carry you away. And this is where your greatest growth will take place. Not in the moments of applause, but in the moments of pressure. When your emotions press hard against your peace, and you choose peace anyway. When the urge to lash out rises like fire, but you extinguish it with prayer. When your heart breaks, but you keep walking in purpose. That is strength. That is faith. That is obedience. And obedience brings reward, not always immediately, but deeply. God begins to entrust you with more influence, more clarity, more spiritual authority, because He knows you are not led by your emotions. You are led by Him. And He can trust those who are emotionally mature with greater responsibility. But this isn't just about blessings. It's about becoming. Becoming the person God envisioned when He formed you. Not ruled by emotions, not reactive, not tossed around by every wind of offense or storm of conflict, but mature, disciplined, discerning, steady, rooted. That is what God is building in you. And that's why He allows tests, not to break you, but to reveal you, to show you where you still need to grow, to show you what still triggers you, to show you what still needs healing. And when you see it, don't run. Don't suppress it. Don't ignore it. Bring it to God. Say, "Here it is, God. This anger, this pain, this fear, this pride, I lay it before you. Change me." And He will. Not always in a flash, but steadily, powerfully, quietly, from the inside out, until one day you realize you no longer respond the way you used to. You no longer fall apart the way you once did. You've been transformed, not by willpower, but by surrender, not by performance, but by God's power working in your soul. There comes a point in your journey where you begin to realize that mastering your emotions is not just about protecting yourself, it's about preserving your purpose. Your calling is too great to be constantly derailed by emotional reactions. Your destiny is too sacred to be thrown off course by momentary feelings. God did not place you here to be swayed by the winds of mood swings and instability. He placed you here to carry something eternal. And anything eternal must be protected. Emotional discipline is not just self-help. It is soul preservation. When you keep losing your temper, you delay your progress. When you keep giving in to offense, you distance yourself from growth. When you act out of insecurity, you stop short of the confidence that God is trying to build in you. But when you stand still and let God rule your reactions, the ground beneath your feet begins to solidify. Suddenly the things that used to shake you don't anymore. The people who used to provoke you can't anymore. The situations that used to drain you fade into silence because you've changed. You no longer give your power away to people who didn't create you. You no longer hand your peace to situations that have no eternal weight, because now you've tasted something better. You've experienced what it feels like to walk in God's composure, to live from the inside out, not the outside in. And that shift changes everything. You begin to pray more than you speak. You begin to think more than you react. You begin to love more deeply, because your love is no longer conditional on how others treat you. You are not living based on feelings. You are living based on God's truth. And that truth grounds you, holds you, lifts you. You become the kind of person who brings calm into chaos, who speaks life when others curse, who builds where others destroy. Not because you're perfect, not because you don't feel, but because you've surrendered those feelings into the hands of the one who made you. And He has reshaped you from the inside. He has given you authority over the very emotions that once ruled you. And now you are not a slave, you are a steward. You steward your anger. You steward your sorrow. You steward your joy. And in doing so, you walk in power, quiet, unshakable, God-given power. And so as you go forward, remember this: every emotion is an opportunity to choose either to bow to the flesh or to rise in faith. Anger will come, but you don't have to serve it. Fear will knock, but you don't have to answer. Sorrow will whisper, but you don't have to surrender. You have a choice. And every time you choose God's way over your own, you are not just becoming better, you are becoming who you were always meant to be: strong, grounded, wise, peaceful. And not because life is easy, but because God is with you. This is not about pretending. This is not about suppression. This is not about hiding how you feel. It is about inviting God into every emotion and letting Him purify it, direct it, and use it for good. You can be real and still be righteous. You can feel deeply and still respond wisely. You can be fully human and still fully surrendered. That's what God desires. Not perfection, but partnership. He wants to walk with you through the messiness of your heart and bring clarity where there's confusion, healing where there's hurt, order where there's chaos. So don't run from your emotions. Run to God with them. Don't deny what you feel. Lay it down at His feet. Let Him show you what to keep and what to cast off. Let Him show you what to keep and what to cast off. Let Him teach you when to speak and when to be silent. Let Him shape your reactions until they reflect His character, not your past. Because the more you walk with God, the more you will find yourself becoming steady in a world that trembles. You will find yourself walking in rooms that once made you anxious, and you'll be calm. You will hear the same insults that once broke you, and you'll be unmoved. You will face the same pressures, and you'll be grounded. That's the transformation God offers. That's the strength He gives. A strength not built on denial, but on divine order. A peace not built on avoidance, but on truth. A self-control not born from effort, but from surrender. So let today be the day you say, God, I will no longer be ruled by my emotions. I will no longer give away my peace. I will no longer let feelings dictate my future. From this day forward, you will lead and I will follow. You will guide my heart and I will obey. And when you make that decision, not once, but every day, you will see God shape your emotions into something holy, something powerful, something stable. And you will rise not as someone tossed by the wind, but as someone anchored in God, unmoved, unshaken, and unstoppable. So now the choice is yours. You can continue living at the mercy of emotions that rise and fall like the tides, or you can anchor your soul in the unshakable presence of God. You can continue reacting to every insult, every delay, every fear. Or you can pause, breathe, surrender, and let God respond for you. This isn't weakness, this is wisdom. This isn't silence, this is strength. When you surrender your emotions to God, you break free from the grip of disorder. You begin to live with intention and meaning. In the midst of chaos, You remain steady. You shine as a mirror of His unshakable peace in a world overwhelmed by noise. Let this be your bold proclamation. No more chains of emotional slavery. No more reckless impulses. No more surrendering your peace to those who never gave it to you. From today, you choose emotional discipline, not through your own might, but because God walks beside you. He wages war for you. He understands your heart. He shapes your responses. With God guiding your soul, no storm is too fierce, no emotion too heavy, no wound too deep that He cannot soothe, heal, and make whole again. Step into that power. Stand firm in that strength, and never again allow emotions to take the throne that belongs only to God. There comes a point in every believer's journey, a moment wrapped in holy stillness, when heaven seems silent, and you start to wonder if God still hears the sound of your prayers. Have you ever found yourself standing on the edge of something that feels larger than your strength, deeper than your understanding, yet too sacred to turn away from? That, my friend, is where the unseen hand of God begins to move. That is the sacred threshold where He prepares to open a new door. But understand this: God never opens a door without first preparing your heart for what waits behind it. No, God is not a God of confusion. When He's about to change your life, when He's about to shift the atmosphere, when He's about to release favor and blessings that have been locked up for years, He sends signs. And these signs are not weak or subtle. They are bold. They are disruptive. They stir your spirit, and they demand your attention. You cannot miss them unless your heart has grown dull or distracted. God begins to move in your discomfort. He begins to shake things around you. The people you once relied on begin to walk away. The places you once felt safe in begin to feel tight and suffocating. You try to settle where you are, but something in your spirit refuses to be still. That restlessness you feel is not a mistake. It's a sign that the current place is too small for the next blessing God is about to release. God will not allow you to be comfortable in a place He is calling you to leave. That unease is not from the world. It's from the throne of God. He's awakening you. He's preparing you. He's about to open a door, but He wants to make sure you are ready to walk through it with the strength, faith, and clarity required to carry the weight of the next season. And when God is about to open a door, you will start to feel isolated. Yes, isolation is a sign God will separate you before He elevates you. You might wonder why people no longer call, why invitations stop coming, why familiar voices go silent. But it's not rejection, it's redirection. God removes the noise so you can hear His voice more clearly. Sometimes the greatest promotion begins with divine separation. God doesn't need a crowd to bless you. He doesn't need applause to validate you. He needs your full attention, your surrendered will, and your trust in Him alone. That silence you hear is sacred. It's the space where God whispers secrets about your future. It's the quiet before the storm of blessing. But oh, that silence can feel like abandonment if you don't understand the sign. When the crowd disappears and the room feels empty, lift your eyes to heaven and know that God is getting ready to fill your life with something greater. Do not confuse isolation with punishment. It is protection. It is preparation. You see, God cannot open a new door while you are still clinging to the comfort of the old hallway. He must strip away what no longer serves you. He must prune you like a wise gardener so that you can bear much fruit in the season to come. The branches he removes are not always dead. Some were just not destined to grow with you. Let them go. If they walk away while you are still waiting, thank God. If they misunderstand your calling, bless God. If they speak against you in your stillness, praise God. Because when God is about to open a door, He clears the path. And sometimes that clearing looks like people leaving, doors shutting, and plans failing. But it's not the end. It's the beginning of a divine shift. You will also begin to feel an urgency in your spirit, an unshakable fire that burns not from your emotions, but from the very breath of God. You will wake up with ideas that don't make sense. You'll begin to dream again. You will see visions of things far beyond your reach, and yet they will not leave you. You'll try to silence them, dismiss them, ignore them, but they will come back stronger. That's because when God is about to open a door, He begins to ignite purpose within you. He doesn't show you the full picture. He gives you glimpses, just enough to awaken your faith. That holy discomfort you feel in your spirit is not your imagination. It is the voice of God stirring your soul. God does not awaken you for nothing. He does not give you vision without intention. If the vision keeps coming, it's a sign. If the fire won't die, it's a sign. If your soul is being pulled to do something greater, it's a sign. God is about to unlock a new level of your destiny. But here's the truth. The door will only open when you are aligned with His timing. So do not rush. Do not force it. Trust that the urgency is not calling you to move ahead of God, but to prepare your heart, your mind, your faith, and your obedience. He's about to call your name. When God is about to open a door, He will often disturb your environment. You'll begin to notice that things you once enjoyed no longer satisfy you. The friendships that once fueled you now feel forced. The places you used to find comfort and begin to irritate your soul. This is not a coincidence. It's a divine disruption. God is shifting your atmosphere to prepare you for a new realm. He's tearing away your attachments to the temporary so you can embrace the eternal. The very ground beneath your feet may start to feel unstable, but this shaking is not to destroy you, it's to awaken you. You may begin to face opposition from unexpected places. People you trusted may turn cold, and systems that used to work may suddenly fail. But don't panic. This chaos is not a curse. It is a sign that God is breaking old patterns and opening new pathways. He is removing anything that could sabotage your next season. When your foundation feels like it's crumbling, remember this. God often breaks the soil before He plants the seed. That breaking is sacred. It's painful, yes, but it's proof that something new is about to be birthed. So if you feel the ground shaking, do not retreat, stand still. If you see doors slamming shut, do not cry, lift your hands. For behind every closed door is the echo of a new one unlocking. God is not ignoring your prayers. He's aligning your surroundings, and sometimes that alignment requires a holy disruption. You may not understand the why in the moment, but one day you'll look back and thank God for every storm, every silence, every setback, because each one pushed you closer to the doorway He was preparing for you. You see, God does not need your comfort to bless you. He needs your obedience, your faith, and your surrender. So if it feels like the world around you is falling apart, take heart. It may be the very moment God is building a future you cannot yet see. He's not punishing you, He's positioning you. Another sign that God is preparing to open a door is the sudden rise in spiritual warfare. The enemy does not waste time attacking empty vessels. He targets those who are carrying something valuable. If you are facing unusual resistance, unexplained weariness, dreams that disturb your peace, or sudden waves of anxiety and fear, do not dismiss them. These are not random. They are indicators that the spiritual realm has taken notice of what God is about to release in your life. The forces of darkness always try to block the entrance before the door swings open. But hear this loud and clear: no weapon formed against you will prosper. Not because of your strength, but because God is your defender. When God places His hand upon you, no force in the universe can cancel your calling. But you must be aware. You must remain vigilant. When the attacks intensify, when the battles increase, it is not time to faint. It is time to fight with your faith. God has already equipped you for this moment. The trial is not a sign of abandonment. It's a sign of advancement. Just before the breakthrough, the pressure will mount. Just before the elevation, the enemy will try to suffocate your courage. But you must hold the line. The increase in warfare is simply confirmation that the door is near. And God never allows you to enter a new place without preparing your spirit to withstand what comes with it. That spiritual battle you're in, it's the birth canal of your next level. You're not losing, you're transitioning. You're not breaking down, you're breaking through. God is proving to you that the anointing on your life is real, that His plan for you is not fiction, and that your endurance has a reward. So do not be afraid of the warfare. Let it remind you that heaven is backing you and hell is trembling because the door is about to open and nothing can stop what God has ordained. When God is about to open a door, He begins to awaken your discernment. Suddenly your spirit becomes sensitive to things you once ignored. You begin to see through people's words, to feel their intentions, to sense when something is off, even if everyone else is comfortable. God sharpens your inner voice, not so you can become judgmental, but so you can become wise. This sharpening is a sign that He's preparing to trust you with more. You cannot walk through divine doors with a dull spirit. You cannot handle higher responsibility with blind trust. So God begins to train your eyes and your ears. He trains your spirit to detect distractions wrapped in good intentions. Not every opportunity is from Him. Not every open door is divine. Some doors are traps in disguise. So before He opens the one that is truly yours, God will teach you to wait, to listen, to observe. He will teach you how to say no without guilt and yes with clarity. When you begin to lose interest in things that once excited you, when you find yourself turning away from shallow conversations and meaningless pursuits, that's not boredom, it's spiritual maturity. God is detaching your spirit from the counterfeit so you won't miss the authentic. He is calling you to walk with eyes wide open and a heart anchored in Him. If you are feeling unusually quiet lately, if your desire to be seen, heard, or validated has faded, it is not depression, it's preparation. God is pulling you inward to align you with what's coming outward. And when the door opens, your discernment will be your weapon, your compass, and your shield. Do not despise the season of spiritual awakening. Do not fear the loss of interest in worldly things. This is the sacred space where God tunes your spirit to His frequency. And once you learn His voice, you'll never again be deceived by noise. That door you're waiting for requires a spirit that can hear even when the world is loud. a soul that moves when God whispers, and a heart that obeys without delay. He's preparing you in silence so that when the moment comes, you'll step through with confidence, not confusion. And when God is about to open a door, He begins to increase your capacity. What once overwhelmed you becomes manageable. What once intimidated you now challenges you to grow. You will begin to notice that your tolerance for negativity decreases. You no longer entertain gossip, fear, or the opinions of those who lack vision. That's because your spirit is expanding. God is enlarging your capacity to carry more, to endure more, to believe for more. This expansion doesn't always come with applause. It often comes with pressure. You will feel stretched beyond what you thought you could handle. You may find yourself managing more responsibility than before, handling more trials than usual, and standing in spaces you once felt unqualified for. That's not an accident. It's divine stretching. God is proving to you that you are stronger than your past, wiser than your mistakes, and more capable than your fears suggest. Every test, every burden, every challenge is a tool in God's hand to prepare you for the weight of the next season. The door God is about to open isn't just for blessing, it's for purpose. And purpose requires endurance. It requires stability. It requires a backbone of faith that won't collapse under pressure. So when you feel stretched, don't pray for escape, pray for strength. When life feels like too much, remember that God never increases pressure without increasing grace. The more He is about to give you, the more He must prepare you. That increase in capacity is evidence that your time is near. The spiritual muscles being developed in this season are what will sustain you when you walk through that open door. The people who doubted you will no longer recognize you, not because you changed to fit their mold, but because God transformed you to fit His purpose. You are not who you used to be. You are becoming who God intended you to be all along. And when that door swings open, you will not walk in timidly. You will walk in fully equipped, divinely prepared, and spiritually refined, not by your own doing, but by the hand of God, who molded you in secret for a purpose that could only be revealed in time. When God is about to open a door, you will start to feel drawn to deeper places of prayer, not out of obligation, but out of necessity. Your soul begins to crave stillness. You'll find yourself turning off distractions, avoiding meaningless conversations, and seeking moments alone, not for escape, but to commune with the one who holds your future. This desire to be alone with God is not your doing, it's a sign. It's how God begins to separate you from noise so you can hear instructions that are not meant for the crowd. There are some doors that only open through private revelation. God knows that in the next season, you cannot depend on others to carry your spirit. You must be anchored in Him alone. Another undeniable sign that God is about to open a door is the rise of divine connections. Relationships that don't make sense in the natural, but are orchestrated with perfect timing and purpose. These aren't casual friendships or surface-level acquaintances. These are God-sent people who speak to your purpose, not your past. They challenge your thinking, stretch your vision, and confirm what you've only dared to whisper in prayer. When God is ready to transition you into a new season, He rarely does it without sending someone ahead of you to guide the way or beside you to walk with you. This is not about popularity. It's about purpose alignment. You may be introduced to someone in a moment that feels random, but your spirit will recognize that it's not a coincidence. It's a divine arrangement. God will place in your path people who see the version of you that you haven't even stepped into yet. They won't be impressed by your title, your status, or your appearance. They'll be drawn to the anointing on your life. And that's how you'll know it's a divine connection. These individuals will not drain you. They will water you. They won't compete with you. They'll complete the assignment God has placed in your life. And as they come into your life, they'll often confirm what God has already been whispering to your spirit. It will feel like they've read your thoughts, but in truth, they've just been listening to the same voice you've been listening to, God's voice. Be alert when these connections begin to happen. Don't dismiss people because they don't look like what you expected. Sometimes the vessel doesn't look glorious, but the message they carry is straight from God. And just as God brings divine connections, He will also begin to remove counterfeits. People who once seemed loyal will show their true colors. Relationships built on convenience will start to crumble. This is not a loss, it's a pruning. God is clearing the path for the ones He's chosen to walk with you. When this shift begins, stay grounded. Don't chase those who leave and don't question those who arrive with peace. Every connection in this season must pass through the filter of prayer. Because when God is about to open a door, He always sends people who can walk through it with you, pray over it with you, or unlock it for you. These are not seasonal allies. They are destiny carriers. And their arrival is a prophetic sign that the door is not only near, it is ready. So He begins to draw you into divine intimacy. And in that secret place, God will pour into you ideas, strategies, warnings, and confirmations. In the silence, you will start to remember who you are. You will be reminded of things God told you years ago that you buried beneath your doubts. He will stir your memory, resurrect your passion, and reintroduce you to the person you were always meant to become. You will come out of those moments of divine encounter with a clarity that cuts through confusion. You will no longer need outside validation because the voice of God will become louder than every opinion. This hunger for prayer, for meditation, for spiritual clarity, it is a sign. Do not ignore it. The closer the door gets, the more urgent the call to the secret place becomes. That tug you feel in your heart is God saying, "Come closer. I have something to show you." And in those quiet, sacred encounters, He will equip you with the wisdom to recognize the right door and the discernment to avoid the wrong one. He will show you not only where to go, but when to move. Timing is just as holy as direction, and God will not allow you to walk into a door unprepared. So if you find yourself yearning to pray more, to be still more, to seek more, know this: the door is closed, the blessing is near, the breakthrough is around the corner. But it is your connection with God that will give you the strength to walk through and stay there. For what good is an open door if you are not spiritually prepared to handle what's on the other side? Let God prepare you in the quiet, so when the moment comes, you won't miss it because you were distracted by noise. When God is about to open a door, He will test your ability to walk by faith, not by sight. In this sacred space between the promise and its fulfillment, God often chooses to withhold visible evidence, not to frustrate you, but to stretch your trust in Him. You may find yourself in a season where nothing around you looks like what God has spoken over your life. The terrain seems barren, your efforts seem fruitless, and every step forward feels like a battle. Yet within your spirit there is a quiet assurance that something greater is coming. This tension is not a contradiction. It is a divine setup. God is building in you the kind of faith that does not collapse under silence. He's training your heart to believe even when your eyes see nothing. You must understand that God does not measure your readiness by how loud your praise is in the light, but by how steady your trust remains in the dark. If you are in a place where it feels like heaven has gone quiet, rejoice, because God often speaks the loudest in silence. He wants you to trust His presence, even when He withholds the plan, that door you're waiting for. It may not appear with flashing signs or trumpets. It may come quietly, unexpectedly, wrapped in obedience. You may be required to move before the full picture is clear, but that's where real faith lives, in the space where logic ends and trust begins. And God honors that kind of faith. He rewards those who hold on when others let go. He elevates those who build altars of praise in valleys of uncertainty. The door you're praying for may not open because of how hard you work, but because of how deeply you believe. And make no mistake, God sees every act of obedience. Every time you chose faith over fear, every moment you praised Him when there was no visible reason. These are the sacrifices that trigger open doors. Not the strength of your hands, but the strength of your heart. So if your environment looks empty, if the silence feels heavy, if the way seems hidden, take courage. These are not signs of delay. They are confirmations that God is near. And when He opens the door, it will be clear that it was not your plan, not your strategy, but your faith in Him that made the way. Another sign that God is preparing to open a door is the deep, sometimes painful realization that you can no longer live beneath your calling. There will come a day when the version of yourself that settled, that compromised, that made peace with mediocrity can no longer survive. It will feel like something inside you is breaking. But what's really happening is that your spirit is rising. God will allow you to feel the discomfort of smallness, so you finally step into the fullness of who He created you to be. You'll begin to see your excuses for what they are, lies that kept you comfortable. The habits you once clung to will start to repulse you. The limitations you accepted will feel like chains you must break, and the fear you once obeyed will begin to lose its grip. This is the internal war that often precedes divine elevation. God stirs up a holy discontent within you. He makes you restless, not because you are ungrateful, but because you were never made to stay where you are. That urge to change, to grow, to move. It's not a worldly ambition, it's a divine calling. And God will not allow His chosen ones to live in the shadows of their potential. He will expose every area where you have settled so He can stretch you into the fullness of your assignment. This is not about chasing dreams, it's about fulfilling destiny. And destiny cannot be fulfilled with a complacent heart. So God begins to press you. He calls you out of the crowd. He disrupts your comfort. He reveals the cost of staying small and then shows you the reward of stepping forward. When this happens, don't resist. Don't silence the fire. Fan it, feed it, let it become so strong that it consumes every lie that told you to stay hidden. Because when God opens a door, it's not just for your blessing, it's for your becoming. The person you are now may not be ready, but the person God is shaping inside of you is. So embrace the inner breaking, the stretching, the rising. It is not a breakdown, it is a breakthrough. And on the other side of it is the door God has prepared, waiting for the version of you that refuses to live beneath what He has spoken over your life. When God is about to open a door, one of the clearest signs you will encounter is an increased sensitivity to time. Suddenly, wasted moments begin to grieve your spirit. Conversations that once amused you now feel like distractions. You become sharply aware that every second matters, that your days must align with purpose, and that you can no longer afford to live carelessly. This urgency is not coming from your flesh. It is a signal from God. It is heaven's reminder that time is sacred and delay is dangerous. God is revealing that your next season will demand focused preparation and that the window of opportunity is not eternal. While God is patient, He also operates in divine timing. When the time appointed by Him draws near, your spirit will begin to stir with a sense of holy pressure. You'll feel an invisible clock ticking, not to rush you into anxiety, but to alert you that your moment is approaching. What you do now matters more than ever. Your prayers, your habits, your choices, they are not random. They are shaping the person who will stand before the open door. And that door will not wait for your comfort. It will wait for your readiness. God is saying, align your life with the vision I have placed within you. Stop wasting days trying to fit into places I've already called you out of. Stop entertaining what weakens your spirit. There is a divine urgency that comes when God is about to shift your life. He doesn't want you to miss what He's about to do. So God begins to sharpen your vision. He narrows your circle, and He trains you to protect your time like a warrior guarding the gates of purpose. If you've lost the patience to linger in empty conversations or fruitless spaces, it's because He's preparing you to step into something sacred, something that carries eternal weight. You weren't made for comfort alone. You were made for calling. And when that divine door swings open, it won't be for those who wasted their waiting. It will open for the ones who labored quietly, who honored their time, who trained their hearts to follow God with focus and urgency. So don't silence that inner clock that keeps pressing in your spirit. It's not anxiety, it's heaven's reminder calling you upward. God is ushering in something new, and the moment to move isn't next week. The moment is now. When God is about to open a door, He will allow you to come face to face with your old self. Not to shame you, but to remind you how far He's brought you and how much further He's taking you. You'll find yourself confronted by thoughts you thought you buried. Insecurities you believed you overcame may try to return. Doubts may knock on the doors of your confidence. But don't be discouraged. This is not regression, it's refinement. God is showing you the final layers that need to be stripped before you walk into your next dimension. The enemy will try to convince you that because old emotions are resurfacing, you're going backward. But the truth is, light always exposes hidden residue before a fresh release. You're not being attacked because you're weak. You're being refined because you're strong enough to carry what's next. When God is about to trust you with more, He purifies your foundation. He will not build on anything unstable. So He brings to light every lie, every hidden fear, every root of bitterness, every lingering insecurity, not to condemn, but to cleanse. And this cleansing feels like a storm. It shakes you. It humbles you. It reminds you that without God, you are nothing. But that's the beauty of it. God is not looking for perfect vessels. He's looking for purified ones. The fire you're feeling in your soul, the pressure, the tension, the unexpected emotions, they're not setbacks. They're the signs of a holy fire burning everything that cannot go with you into your next season. Embrace the process. Lean into the discomfort. Let God finish what He started in you. The door you're about to walk through requires a version of you that is bold, healed, whole, and aligned. And the moment you allow God to confront the final remnants of your past, He will release you into the fullness of your purpose. Do not resist the mirror He places in front of you. Look deeply, surrender fully, and trust that this confrontation is not your breaking point. It is your launching point. Because when God completes a work in your inner man, the outer breakthrough cannot be stopped. You are not being defeated, you are being delivered. And right on the other side of that deliverance stands the very door you've been waiting for. When God is about to open a door, He will intensify your awareness of what no longer belongs in your life. You will begin to notice certain behaviors, attachments, and even thought patterns that once seemed harmless but now feel like obstacles. The conversations that used to entertain you will begin to drain you. The relationships that once defined you will start to limit you. The comforts you clung to will feel like chains. This is not you becoming arrogant. This is you becoming awakened. God is making you allergic to what is beneath your destiny. He's not just removing things from around you, He's removing things from within you. Old desires will begin to die. Old cycles will start to feel suffocating, and your spirit will crave purity, truth, and alignment. This stripping is not punishment. It's purification. God is making room. He is decluttering your soul. He's preparing you to walk through a door that demands clarity, focus, and unwavering commitment. You cannot carry clutter into your calling. You cannot walk into purpose while dragging the dead weight of your past. So God begins to highlight the habits, the compromises, the inner conversations that silently poison your progress. It may be painful, but it's necessary. The door you've been praying for is too powerful to be approached with divided loyalty. God wants your full attention. He wants your spirit undistracted. And to get you there, He begins to cleanse you of everything that could become a stumbling block. You may not even realize how deeply rooted some of these things are until God shines His light on them. And when He does, do not harden your heart. Submit. Let go. Trust that if God is asking you to release something, it's because He's about to replace it with something greater. This is the sign few recognize. The sudden urge to purify your life, to fast from distraction, to pursue a new level of spiritual discipline. It's not religion, it's revelation. God is sanctifying your path because what He's about to open will require a cleaner vessel, a clearer mind, and a stronger spirit. Let Him do the work, because once He removes the unnecessary, the path to the door will become undeniable. And then, just before the door opens, God will allow a moment that tests your identity one final time. It might be a rejection, a betrayal, a delay that seems to mock everything you believe. You will find yourself standing at the edge of breakthrough, but it will feel like everything is falling apart. Do not be fooled. This is the final fire. God will always test who you think you are before He reveals who He knows you to be. He'll ask, will you still believe when it looks like I've forgotten you? Will you still praise me when the answer hasn't come? Will you still trust me when the door you expected isn't the one I open? This is where many fall away. They misinterpret the final test as failure. But it's not failure, it's formation. God is molding your character to match the weight of the door you're about to walk through. The final battle before elevation is always identity. You must know who you are in God before you step into what He's promised. Because if you enter unsure of your worth, you'll second guess the blessing. If you walk through the door still seeking validation, you'll allow fear to rob you of the favor. So God creates a situation that forces you to decide, is your faith built on what you see or on who He is? Are you attached to the outcome or surrendered to the process? This is where you grow, not upward, but inward. And in that sacred wrestling match with your own doubt, your real strength is born. You emerge not as the person who begged for the door, but as the person who is ready to walk through it. And once your identity is sealed in God, the door cannot remain shut. Because it was never just about access, it was about becoming. And when you become who God called you to be, no man, no circumstance, no demon can deny what heaven has already ordained. So if you're in the fire, don't retreat. If you're in the test, don't crumble. Lift your head and recognize the pattern. The breaking point is the birthing point. You are closer now than you've ever been. And when you pass this test, the door will open, not because you forced it, but because you were formed for it. When God is about to open a door, He may cause your current resources to dry up. What once sustained you may suddenly become unreliable. The job that brought you comfort may begin to feel unstable. The people who supported you may grow distant. Even your physical strength may feel diminished. But this isn't abandonment, it's divine strategy. God knows that as long as you depend on the brook, you will not move toward the river. As long as your needs are being met in the old place, you won't seek the new place. So He allows the brook to dry up, not to punish you, but to propel you. This kind of divine disruption is hard to understand in the moment. It will feel like everything is slipping through your hands. You'll question your decisions. You'll revisit your faith. You'll ask, why now, God? Why this? But God in His perfect wisdom is not cutting you off. He's cutting you loose. Loose from the things you thought were your source. Loose from the structures you've leaned on more than Him. Loose from the old way of thinking, surviving, and living. The drying brook is not the end. It is the push. God will never allow a door to open while you're still tied to a place He's calling you out of. So if your current well is running dry, take heart. If the familiar is failing, look up. That scarcity is a signal. That limitation is a loud announcement from heaven. Get ready. I am shifting you. God never shuts down provision without preparing new abundance. But the new abundance is connected to the new place. And the new place is behind the new door. Don't mourn over what is fading. Celebrate what is forming. Because when the hand of God begins to close one chapter, it's because He has already written the next one. And what's waiting in that next chapter is not a repeat of the past. It is a reward for your faith. It is a divine unveiling of what your waiting, your weeping, your working has built. The brook may be dry, but the door is opening. The manna may have stopped falling, but the promised land is near. Trust the signs. God is not taking from you, He's leading you to more. Another undeniable sign that God is about to open a door is the sudden increase in divine clarity. It begins like a whisper and grows into a roar within your spirit. Ideas that once confused you will suddenly make sense. Paths that seemed clouded will now become illuminated. It's as if heaven pulls back the veil and lets you see what was always there, just hidden for the right time. This clarity isn't born from logic or intellect. It flows from obedience and alignment. When your heart is postured before God and your ears are tuned to His voice, you begin to discern His direction with divine precision. What once seemed blurry now becomes unmistakable. You'll start waking up with purpose. Decisions you agonized over will suddenly feel obvious. Doubts that once plagued you will lose their power. That's because clarity is a sign of divine nearness. God doesn't give vision to confuse you. He gives it to confirm your steps. But He doesn't reveal everything all at once. He gives you light for the next step, not the next mile. That's how He builds trust. So when the light comes, when that sudden clarity floods your heart, you must move. Not because you feel ready, but because God has made it clear. When God starts to show you patterns, highlight people, confirm words, and stir visions within your soul, it's time to walk. Do not ignore clarity just because it came in silence. Sometimes the loudest confirmation comes in the stillest moment. And often clarity arrives when chaos is at its peak. That's how you know it's from God. It cuts through the noise. It calms the storm. It settles your spirit. You no longer need to debate or delay. You just know. And when you know, act. Because clarity is not permanent if you keep ignoring it. God reveals direction in windows of time. If you refuse to act when He confirms the way, that clarity will turn back into confusion. Not because God is unclear, but because you hesitated when you should have moved. The open door is not just about opportunity, it's about timing. And when God gives you divine clarity, it's a sign the time is now. Don't look back, don't overanalyze. Trust that the same God who gave you the vision will also give you the victory. When God is about to open a door, He begins to demand uncommon obedience. Not partial obedience, not convenient obedience, but full, immediate, and sometimes uncomfortable obedience. He will call you to do things that don't make sense in the natural. He will tell you to move when there's no clear reason to move. He will ask you to give when you feel like holding back. He may even call you to walk away from places, positions, or people you've grown attached to, not because they're bad, but because they're not a part of where He's taking you. This kind of obedience will stretch your trust in ways you never imagined. You'll be tempted to negotiate. You'll try to understand before acting, but that's not how obedience works. God is not obligated to explain Himself in order to be obeyed. He's looking for those who say yes, even when they don't know where the path will lead. He's looking for those who trust His character, even when they don't understand His commands. Because true obedience is not measured in ease, it's measured in surrender. And when God is preparing to open a door, He will always test your ability to follow Him blindly. He wants to know if you're more committed to your comfort than to your calling, if you're more loyal to your plans than to His voice. Obedience is the currency of elevation. When God sees that you will obey without hesitation, He knows He can trust you with what's behind the door. So if God is prompting you to make a change, to take a step, to release something, don't delay. That hesitation could be what keeps the door shut, but your obedience could be the very key that unlocks it. And when you obey, even in fear, even in uncertainty, even in pain, you invite the power of God to move on your behalf. There is no door too big, no barrier too strong, and no delay too long when obedience walks ahead of you. Move when He says move, wait when He says wait, and act when He says act. Because obedience is not just your responsibility, it is your preparation. And then after all the waiting, all the stretching, all the stripping and testing, when your heart is aligned, your faith is matured, and your obedience is proven, God opens the door. Not a door you force, not a door you beg for, but the one that He appointed from the beginning. And when it opens, you will understand why the wait had to be long, why the pain had to be deep, why the loneliness had to be real. Because what God is about to release is not small, it's not temporary, it's not average, it is divine, it is lasting, it is lasting, it is purposeful. And when that door swings open, everything that was once confusing will suddenly make sense. You'll see why He had to delay it. You'll see why certain people had to leave. You'll understand why some seasons felt like silence. It was all part of the preparation. Because the door God opens is not just about blessing you, it's about using you. It's about positioning you to be a vessel to carry His light, His truth, and His wisdom into places that were once dark. You didn't endure the fire just to enjoy the view. You endured it so you could stand in rooms you were once unqualified for and walk with the authority of someone who has been processed by God. When the door opens, walk through it boldly, not arrogantly, but confidently. Not because you're perfect, but because God prepared you. This is not the time to shrink. This is not the time to second guess. This is the moment to step fully into what you were born for. And know this, the God who opens the door will also sustain you behind it. He doesn't just prepare the path, He prepares you for the path. And when the time is right, not a second too soon, not a moment too late, the door will open. And it will be clear that it was never about luck, chance, or effort. It was about alignment with the one who orders all things. So if you find yourself in the fire, hold on. If your spirit feels restless, stay alert. If your surroundings are shifting, take heart. These are not signs of failure. They are the soft echoes from heaven, reminding you that something is drawing near, that God is already at work, that the door you've prayed for is closer than it's ever been. Let your faith rise higher than your fear. Let your obedience drown out every whisper of doubt. Let your trust in God become stronger than your desire to stay in control. For when God decides to open a door, no man can shut it. No power can resist it. No enemy can undo it. Your task isn't to force that door open. It's to stay ready, to prepare your heart, to keep believing, to walk in obedience, and to fully surrender. And when that moment comes, may you step through it as someone who has been purified by trials, strengthened in seasons of silence, refined in the wilderness, and filled with unshakable confidence, not in your own strength, but in the perfect power and timing of God. Because when God opens a door, it's not just a passage, it's a calling, it's divine, and it's reserved for those who dare to trust Him in the waiting, and who are ready to move the moment He says, now. There comes a moment in every life when the road ahead feels blocked, the light fades low, and the heart grows weary under the weight of one more disappointment. Some of you listening right now know exactly what that feels like. You've given your all, you've prayed, you've wept, you've waited, and still the answer hasn't come. The door stays shut. The healing hasn't arrived. The breakthrough seems far away, like a dream slipping through your hands. But listen closely. This is not the end. This is not the closing of your story. This is the very moment when the miracle begins. When your strength runs out, God's power steps in. When people say there is no way, God speaks and says, I will make a way. The world may tell you to give up. People around you may say it's too late. Your own mind may be filled with doubt, fear, and confusion. But you are not called to live according to the world's opinions. You are called to trust in the Almighty, the one who parts seas, who brings water out of rock, who raises dry bones to life. You are not forsaken. You are not forgotten. God sees you. God hears you. And God will make a way for you. Miracles are not myths. They are not ancient stories reserved for the past. Miracles are real. They are alive. They are happening right now. The very breath you're taking is a miracle. The fact that you're still standing after all you've been through is proof that God is not done with you. There is a reason you didn't break. There is a reason you're still here. God is preparing something far greater than you imagined. But He's calling you to believe. Not just casually, not just weakly, but to believe with a fire in your soul, with a steadfast spirit that refuses to let go of the promise. There's something holy about holding on when everyone else lets go. There's something powerful about believing when it looks impossible, because that's when God steps in. That's when the impossible becomes possible. That's when the Red Sea parts. That's when the chains break. That's when the walls fall down without a touch. It is not your job to figure out how God will do it. It is only your job to believe that He will. Your miracle does not depend on your resources. It does not depend on your education, your connections, your status, or your strength. It depends on your God, and He is the master of miracles. He is the waymaker. He opens doors that no man can shut. He lifts the humble and shatters the proud. He brings justice for the oppressed and raises the bowed down. He has never failed, and He will not fail you. Maybe you've been walking through a desert, spiritually dry, emotionally drained. Maybe the silence has lasted so long that you've begun to wonder if God is even listening. Let me tell you something. The silence does not mean absence. The delay does not mean denial. God is not ignoring you. He is working in the unseen. He is setting things in motion behind the curtain. The stage is being prepared for something that only God can do. When it happens, it won't make sense. It won't be explainable by logic. People will look at you and say, "How did this happen?" And your only answer will be, "God made a way." Because that's what He does. He brings rivers into wastelands. He turns mourning into dancing. He lifts up the broken and gives strength to the weary. He is not limited by what limits you. He is not restricted by what restricts you. He is sovereign, eternal, and mighty beyond measure. But He's looking for a heart that believes. He's searching for a soul that will say, "I trust you even when I can't trace you. I believe even when I don't see the evidence yet." That kind of faith moves mountains. That kind of faith makes the impossible bow to the possible. That kind of faith brings heaven's power into your life. There are moments in life when everything will try to convince you to give up. Your emotions will scream that it's over. Your circumstances will shout that it's too late. But if you listen closely, not with your ears, but with your spirit, you will hear the whisper of God saying, "I'm still here. I'm still working. I will make a way." Don't limit God to your understanding. What He has planned for you is greater than what you can imagine. His ways are not your ways, and His timing is not your timing. You may feel delayed, but you are not denied. You may feel forgotten, but you are deeply remembered in the heart of God. He has written your name in the palm of His hand. He knows your story from beginning to end. and He is writing a chapter of glory that no one can erase. Your situation may seem lifeless, but God breathes life into dead places. Your future may look closed, but God is the God of open doors. Don't you dare give up now. Don't let go of hope. You are closer to your miracle than you realize. That pain you feel is not the end. It's the pressure before the breakthrough. The shaking you sense is not your destruction. It's the sign that chains are being broken and strongholds are coming down. There is a divine strategy unfolding in your life. Even if you don't see it yet, there is purpose in the waiting, power in the pain, and promise in the pressure. God is refining you. He's not punishing you. He's preparing you. He's building your character, strengthening your spirit, and getting you ready to carry what He's about to release in your life. So believe. Believe in the impossible. Believe when others mock you. Believe when you don't feel strong. Believe through tears. Believe through the storms. Believe because you know who your God is. He is faithful. He is just. He is powerful. And He will not abandon you in the wilderness. He will lead you out with a strong hand and an outstretched arm. There's someone listening right now who's been told it's too late. You've been told the diagnosis is final. You've been told your best years are behind you. You've been told the damage is too deep to be restored. But they don't know your God. They don't know the God who restores what was lost, who redeems what was stolen, who revives what was dead. Don't let their words carry more weight than God's truth. Don't let fear shout louder than your faith. You were not created to live in defeat. You were not born to stay stuck. You were formed with purpose, destined with greatness, and chosen by the Almighty to reflect His glory. So rise up in faith. Shake off the dust. Lift your head. Your miracle is coming. Not because you deserve it, but because God is good. Because God is good. Because God is good. Because God is good. Because God is merciful. Because God loves to take the broken and make them whole. You may be at the end of your rope, but you are not at the end of your hope. God has a final word, and it is not failure. It is not loss. It is not despair. His final word is victory. His final word is restoration. His final word is breakthrough. So walk like it's already done. Praise like the chains are already broken. Speak like the way has already been made. Because when you act in faith, you align yourself with the power of God. You are not weak. You are being strengthened. You are not abandoned. You are being pursued by divine grace. The path may not be visible yet, but trust that the steps are being laid one by one. The same God who made a path through the sea will make a path through your storm. The same God who rained manna from heaven will supply your every need. The same God who delivered from the fire will walk with you through the flames. And when He brings you through it, and He will bring you through it, don't forget who did it. Don't forget the nights you cried and the moments you almost quit. Don't forget the faith it took to stand. And when you stand on the other side of the miracle, with tears running down your face and joy overflowing in your soul, you'll look back and say, "It was God. It was always God." And now I speak to the ones who are worn out, not in body alone, but in spirit. You've held on for so long, you've waited through so many nights, and yet you feel the weight of silence. But hear me, with all the power and truth my soul can deliver. Just because you haven't seen the miracle yet, doesn't mean it's not already in motion. Sometimes God delays what we desire to deepen what we need. Sometimes the waiting room is the preparation room. And God in His perfect wisdom holds back the blessing until your hands are strong enough to carry it and your heart is ready to honor it. When the sun hides behind the clouds, it does not mean it has stopped shining. And when God seems silent, it does not mean He has stopped working. His delay is not His denial. His silence is not His absence. His timing is not bound to your clock. He is above time, beyond logic, and infinitely wiser than we can ever understand. What you call a setback may be God's way of shifting you into position. What you see as rejection may be divine protection. The problem is, too many people give up 5 minutes before the miracle arrives. They let the pressure speak louder than the promise. They let the fear drown out the faith. But you must be different. You must stand in the fire and say, even if I see no sign, even if I see no sign, even if I hear no sound, I still believe God will make a way. That unwavering conviction becomes a magnet for the power of God. That unshakable trust becomes the doorway through which the miraculous flows. God does not operate according to popular opinion. He is not moved by statistics or limited by impossibilities. What is impossible for man is simple for God. He doesn't need approval to open a door. He doesn't require permission to change your life. When He commands, the earth obeys. When He decrees, no force in the universe can resist. If He says you will rise, nothing can hold you down. If He says the storm will pass, the winds must cease. Let your heart absorb this truth. God is not trying to figure it out. He already has the answer. Before you face the problem, God had already written the solution. Before you cried the first tear, He had already scheduled the joy. Your miracle is not a question of if, it's a matter of when. And the when is tied to your belief, your trust, your endurance. Those who wait on God are never wasting time. They are being renewed, refined, and ready for the greater glory to come. So lift your spirit with this assurance: God is a deliverer. God is a restorer. God is a way maker. He lifts up those who are bowed low. He crowns the faithful with strength. He exalts the one who kneels in surrender. And He will take your tears and turn them into testimony. He will take your pain and make it a platform. What looked like the end will become the launching pad for a new beginning. You see, miracles are not always loud. They don't always come wrapped in lightning and thunder. Sometimes they arrive in the stillness, in the quiet turn of events, in the moment when you thought nothing was changing, and suddenly the way is made. Suddenly the opportunity appears. Suddenly the answer comes. And not by your might, not by your power, but by the hand of God alone. It's time to speak to the mountain, not about the mountain. Too many are busy describing the problem instead of declaring the power of God. Speak life into your future. Speak favor into your situation. Speak hope into your circumstances. Say it with boldness: God will make a way for me. Not because you've earned it, not because you figured it out, but because He is faithful, because He is merciful, because He is merciful, because He honors those who believe. You may be in a place right now where doors are slamming in your face. You may feel like every step forward pushes you 3 steps back. But the door that God opens is the only one that matters. The opportunity that God sends is the one that will lead to lasting peace. Man may delay it. People may try to block it. But when God's hand moves, no one can stop it. He doesn't just open doors, He creates doors where there were none. He doesn't just make a way, He becomes the way in the middle of your wilderness. And don't underestimate the value of the process. Don't curse the path that shaped you. The struggle may have wounded you, but it also taught you how to stand. The fire may have burned, but it purified your purpose. Sometimes the miracle is not just in what God does for you, it's in what He does in you. The greatest transformation often comes not through comfort, but through challenge. So don't run from the trial, don't despise the delay. Let God finish what He started in you. Let Him mold you through the process so that when the promise comes, you're ready to receive it with wisdom and with gratitude. And while you're waiting, praise Him. Worship Him in the wilderness. Lift your hands even in the dark. Because when you praise in the middle of the pain, you're not just enduring, you're elevating. You're shifting the atmosphere. You're showing God that your trust is not based on what He does, but on who He is. God is not testing your ability, He's testing your belief. He already knows what He can do. He wants to know, do you believe He can do it for you? Do you believe He can provide even when the bank says no? Do you believe He can heal even when the doctors shake their heads? Do you believe He can raise your life from the ashes and give you beauty in place of your pain? Let me tell you, God loves to work in the impossible. He delights in showing His power when all hope seems gone. That's when the miracle shines brightest. That's when His name is glorified most. Because when there is no other explanation, no other way, no human logic that can account for the blessing, that's when you know it was God and God alone. And I tell you with fire in my soul, your moment is coming. That long-awaited breakthrough, that hidden door, that unexpected favor, it's on the horizon. But you must keep walking. You must keep believing. Don't let the enemy steal your expectation. Don't let fear rob you of your faith. Don't let the waiting turn into wavering. Your miracle is too close. Your purpose is too great. Your God is too faithful. There is a divine truth that must be etched deep into your heart. God does not need conditions to be favorable before He moves. He is not waiting on a report to change, on a person to shift, on a door to creak open just a little. No, when God decides to act, He overrides the natural with the supernatural. He speaks, and it is done. He wills it, and it stands firm. His command is final, and no resistance on earth or in the heavens can halt what He has ordained. That is the one you place your trust in. That is the one who will make a way for you no matter how hopeless it may seem. There is someone watching this right now who has been circling the same mountain for years, emotionally, financially, spiritually, asking, when will this end? You have knocked and knocked, but the door has remained shut. You've prayed through tears that soaked your pillow, through whispers that never left your room. But what you must realize is that sometimes God will hold back what you asked for in order to prepare you for what you didn't know you needed. Sometimes the no is not rejection but redirection. Sometimes the pause is not punishment but protection. For God in His infinite wisdom sees the end from the beginning. You are not walking in circles, you are being trained in persistence. You are not being ignored, you are being refined. Each delay is stretching your faith. Each silence is deepening your roots. God is not in a hurry because what He's building in you is meant to last. He's not just trying to get you out of a problem, He's transforming you so that when the breakthrough comes, it doesn't break you. So that when the doors open, you walk through with humility and strength, not pride and weakness. Let this be clear. There is no power on earth greater than the will of God. No opposition can prevail against the decree of the Almighty. If God says it's time, then it's time. And when your appointed time comes, everything will align. The resources, the relationships, the opportunities, they will appear at just the right moment. Not early, not late, but divinely timed according to God's perfect calendar. So don't measure your progress by what you see. Don't base your faith on what others are experiencing. Your journey is unique. Your process is sacred. What God is doing in your life is tailored just for you. It may not look like success yet. It may still feel like a wilderness. But every step you take in faith is a seed planted in the soil of promise. And when the season shifts, when the clouds break, you will reap a harvest that cannot be denied. You are not alone in this walk. God walks beside you in the valley just as surely as He reigns above the mountains. He is closer than your breath, nearer than your thoughts. When the world forgets you, when friends forsake you, when even your own heart fails you, God remains. He is the steady hand in your chaos, the whisper of peace in your storm, the fire that cannot be extinguished even in the darkest night. And when your strength begins to fade, when your knees buckle beneath the pressure, when your voice trembles with doubt, that is the moment God's power becomes most evident, because you were never meant to carry the load alone. You were never meant to climb the mountain by your own might. God allows the weight so you will discover His strength. He allows the struggle so you will lean on His presence. For it is not in your ease, but in your endurance that God reveals His majesty. To those who feel forgotten, remember the seed that lies buried the longest often produces the greatest fruit. Just because no one sees your growth doesn't mean it isn't happening. God works in the soil, in the depths, in the hidden places where no spotlight shines. And when He chooses to bring you forth, the world will see what He has been cultivating in silence. Let your faith rise, not because everything makes sense, but because you trust the One who holds all things together. Let your hope be stubborn. Let your belief be loud in the face of discouragement. Speak to the future with boldness. Say it before you see it. God will make a way. Not might, not maybe, He will. Even if the facts say it's too late, even if the doors have been closed for years, even if your heart has grown weary from waiting, God is still able. His power does not diminish with time. His promise does not expire with delays. What He spoke into your life remains intact. His word will not return void. It will accomplish what He sent it to do. Not a single syllable will fall to the ground unfulfilled. All He asks is that you believe. And belief is not passive. It is a force. It is a force. It is a fire. True belief pushes back against fear, against doubt, against every lie that says it's over. True belief says, even now, even here, even in this, I believe God will move. And that belief, my friend, activates the power of the unseen. It invites God's hand to intervene. It welcomes the miraculous into the mess. It calls what is not as though it were. Do not let circumstances define your expectation. Let God's character define your confidence. He is not like man. He does not grow tired. He does not forget His promises. He does not tease your hope. If He said He will make a way, then He will make a way. Through the fire, through the flood, through the impossible. You may not understand the method, but trust the outcome. You may not see the next step, but trust the guide. You may not have the strength to carry on, but trust the sustainer. He has brought you this far not to leave you now. He has invested too much in your journey to abandon you before the promise. So rise, not because the struggle is over, but because your God is greater than the struggle. Lift your head, not because the burden is gone, but because the one who carries it with you is mighty and merciful. Stand in faith, not because you feel strong, but because God's strength is made perfect in your weakness. You have cried long enough. You have questioned long enough. Now it is time to believe again. Believe not in your own ability, but in the unstoppable, undefeatable, all-powerful force of God's will. Believe that His hand is on your life, that His plan is unfolding, that His promise is alive. Even if you see no signs yet, keep walking, keep hoping, keep speaking faith into the atmosphere, because at the appointed time, your miracle will not be delayed.
And when it comes, it will come swiftly. It will come with clarity. It will arrive in a way so undeniable that everyone around you will say, "Surely God has done this." You won't need to explain. You won't need to prove. The fruit of your faith will speak for itself. The power of God will echo louder than any words you could ever say. Many walk through life weighed down by fear, anxiety, and the heavy load of unanswered questions. Why hasn't it happened yet? Why does it seem like God is silent? Why does the way remain closed? Listen carefully with conviction. The silence of God does not mean the absence of God. His stillness is never neglect, it is precision. When God allows delay, it is always filled with purpose. His pauses are intentional. They are divine intervals designed not to discourage you, but to prepare you for what you have prayed for. You must hold on to this truth. Before every miracle, there is a testing. Before every breakthrough, there is a moment of uncertainty. Before the way is made, there is often a wall. But what separates those who witness the power of God from those who miss it is not luck, not chance, not human effort. It is the refusal to stop believing. It is the decision to hold on to faith when everything in the natural tells you to let go. There will be seasons where God strips away the noise, the comforts, the crutches you once leaned on, not to leave you empty, but to remind you of what truly sustains you, Him alone. He will lead you into a place where only His voice can guide you, where only His hand can provide, where only His power can bring you through. That is not punishment. That is intimacy. That is the place where faith is not just an idea, but a fire that burns through every doubt and lights the way in the dark. Listen carefully. The miracle you're waiting for is not just about the result. It's about the revelation. It's not just about what God will do for you, but what God is doing in you. He is forming a strength in your spirit, a clarity in your mind, and a resilience in your heart that no storm will be able to shake. When you believe in the miracle, when you refuse to bow to fear, when you keep walking even with tears in your eyes, you declare with your life that your God is bigger than the mountain in front of you. And make no mistake, God will reward that faith. He does not overlook perseverance. He does not ignore the prayer whispered at midnight when no one else is listening. He does not forget the one who chooses to praise Him even when the evidence says there's no reason to. That kind of faith reaches heaven. That kind of belief touches eternity. That is the faith that moves the hand of God. Do not measure the size of your mountain. Measure the size of your God. Do not magnify your struggle. Magnify the one who commands the winds and the waves. Do not be overwhelmed by what you cannot do. Be anchored in what God can do. He is not a distant observer. He is not watching you suffer without a plan. He is working all things together, even the pain, even the setbacks, even the betrayals. He is weaving it all into a tapestry of triumph. And when the moment comes, when God steps in, everything will change in an instant. That is the power of divine intervention. It is sudden, it is undeniable, it is overwhelming in its beauty and timing. And when it happens, you won't be able to take credit for it. No one else will either. It will be so clear that only God could have done it. That is how God moves, so that all glory returns to Him. But until that moment, your assignment is simple, yet powerful. Believe. Keep the door of your heart open. Keep the oil of your hope burning. Speak with confidence even when your voice shakes. Walk with expectation even when the path is unclear. Speak what you believe, not what you see, because your words create atmosphere. Your faith shifts the unseen, and your hope invites the power of the Almighty into the middle of your storm. And don't fall into the trap of comparing your timing with someone else's blessing. Don't allow the enemy to whisper lies that God has forgotten you just because others are stepping into their harvest. Every person has their own season. Every soul walks its own journey. What God has planned for you is specifically tailored for your life, your calling, your destiny. He is not late. He is aligning every detail to match the promise He whispered into your spirit long ago. So stay planted, stay faithful, stay grounded in the truth that God is not finished with you. Even if it feels like the pages have stopped turning, even if the story seems stalled, God is still writing. And what's ahead is far greater than what's behind. What's coming will be worth every sleepless night. Every prayer you thought went unheard, every tear that fell in secret. Not one of them was wasted. God bottles your tears, He hears your cries, and He moves with compassion toward those who call upon Him in truth. And yes, the enemy will try to distract you. He will use fear to blur your vision. He will use discouragement to paralyze your faith. He will whisper that it's pointless, that you're forgotten, that you've missed your moment. But he is a liar, and you must speak back with truth. You must declare, God is still on the throne. God still has a plan. God is not finished with me. God will not abandon the work of His hands. He does not leave His people in the wilderness. He leads them through. He does not close doors without preparing new ones. He does not prune without producing greater fruit. Every divine delay has a divine purpose. And the way that God is preparing for you, though you may not see it yet, is filled with favor, peace, restoration, and abundance. Let your confidence be in who God is, not in how things appear. Stand in reverence, not in panic. Walk in patience, not in pressure. For God is not just the God of the outcome, He is the God of the process. And every step you take, every trial you face, every moment you endure with faith is drawing you closer to the promise that awaits. You are not invisible to the Most High. Your voice echoes in His courts. Your name is known in the heavens, and what He has spoken over you, what He has declared into the very fabric of your existence, will come to pass. He is not a man that He should lie. His word is sure. His will is unstoppable. His timing is perfect. And when the miracle comes, it will not be late. It will not be small. It will not be ordinary. It will be exactly what you need in a way only God could design. There is a truth the world has forgotten. But you must remember, when you walk with God, you are never walking toward defeat. You are walking through it. You may face walls, you may face waves, you may face weapons formed against you, but they will not prosper. They cannot prosper, because the presence of God in your life is not symbolic. It is power. It is not theory. It is fire. You are not relying on empty hope. You are relying on the one who created the stars and hung them in their place. The one who said, "Be," and it was. That same voice still speaks. That same power still moves. And He has set His hand upon your life. And even when you don't feel it, Even when the ground beneath you shakes and the sky seems closed, God is still moving. Just because you can't see the root doesn't mean the tree isn't growing. Just because you can't hear the answer doesn't mean the command hasn't already gone forth. You must stop judging your progress by your senses. Faith is not built on what you can measure. It is built on what you believe. It is the inner fire that declares, "My circumstances are not my destiny. My situation is not my sentence. My God has the final say." There are moments in life when you will be called to walk through doors that haven't even been built yet. Doors that exist only in the unseen, waiting to be formed by the command of God. And when others laugh at your faith, when they question your vision, when they doubt your path, you stand firm and speak with confidence. "I walk not by what I see, but by what I know, and I know that God is making a way." That is the kind of faith that moves mountains. That is the kind of belief that makes the impossible bow to the will of the Almighty.
You must understand God does not need anything outside Himself to bring your miracle to pass. He is not waiting for conditions to become ideal. He does not consult with your enemies, your family, or your history before blessing you. When He says yes, no one can say no. And if He closes a door, it is not to harm you. It is to protect you from what was never meant for you. His no is as holy as His yes. His delay is as merciful as His breakthrough. Do not be disheartened when others seem to rise while you wait. Do not envy those who seem to run while you can barely crawl. Their timeline is not your truth. Their pace is not your promise. You are not late. You are not behind. You are on God's schedule. And His timing is never rushed, never reactive. It is perfect, purposeful, and precise. When He blesses, it will not be a drop. It will be a downpour. Not a portion, but an overflow. Not a survival, but a testimony. God does not build with speed. He builds with substance. And while you feel hidden, He is developing your roots. While you feel delayed, He is increasing your capacity. You are not waiting in vain. You are being prepared to receive something so divine, so glorious, so heavy with meaning, that it requires a stronger version of you to carry it. That's why the waiting hurts. That's why the process feels endless. Because what is coming is greater than what you can currently handle. And here is something even deeper. Sometimes God withholds the visible miracle to preserve the eternal lesson. Because if He gave it too soon, you might forget the journey. If He released it too easily, you might overlook His hand. But when you've been through the fire, when you've walked through the flood, when you've survived what others didn't, then you'll know without a shadow of a doubt that it was God. Only God. Let your spirit rest in this unshakable truth. You are not fighting for a miracle. You are walking toward the one that is already written into your destiny. It's not up for negotiation. It's not dependent on man's permission. It's already signed and sealed by the will of God. And when the time is right, it will manifest not because of your strength, but because of God's sovereignty. And while you wait, protect your thoughts. Guard your mouth. Speak only what aligns with faith. The words you speak shape the atmosphere around you. If you speak defeat, you empower fear. If you speak doubt, you invite delay. But if you speak the truth of God, if you declare life where there is death, healing where there is pain, breakthrough where there is bondage, you become a vessel for divine power. Your voice becomes a trumpet of victory, echoing the sound of trust in the face of impossibility. And I tell you again with all the authority of conviction, God has not forgotten you. The battle has not disqualified you. The silence has not erased your name from His plan. In fact, You are closer now than you've ever been, closer to the open door, closer to the moment when everything will shift. And when it does, it will happen so fast, so powerfully, that all the years of waiting will collapse into a single moment of fulfillment. And you will stand there overwhelmed, not just by the miracle, but by the faithfulness of the one who brought you through. You will not just rejoice in the blessing, you will rejoice in the wisdom of the waiting. You will not just celebrate the door, you will celebrate the path that led you there, no matter how painful it was. Because you will see with clarity you've never known that God's plan was always better. His way was always higher. His timing was always right. This is not the end. This is the proving ground. This is the sacred space where your faith is forged, your character refined, your soul anchored. And when the way is revealed, and it will be, you will walk through it not as a beggar, but as one who trusted the King of all creation. Not as a survivor, but as a conqueror. Not as one who hoped vaguely, but as one who believed fiercely. There are moments in life when all you have left is a whisper, just a flicker of strength, a fragment of hope, a quiet breath in the midst of chaos. But if that whisper is anchored in belief, if that breath is directed toward God, then it carries more power than 1,000 shouts of doubt. Because when your spirit reaches for God, even in weakness, His strength rushes in. When your faith clings to Him, even in silence, His mercy flows. When your faith clings to Him, even in silence, His mercy flows. When your heart refuses to quit, even when the world says you should, that is where miracles begin to stir. That is the sacred place where impossibility begins to bow. You must understand that God doesn't look at your circumstances the way you do. He doesn't see what's blocking you. He sees what's beyond them. He doesn't focus on what's missing. He sees what's about to arrive. While you measure your life in problems and timelines, God operates in purpose and eternity. What looks like delay to you is a setup to Him. What feels like rejection is often His redirection. And when God redirects, it's not to harm you. It's to preserve you. It's to bring you to the exact place where His power can be displayed in full. Do not let your heart be seduced by the illusion of permanence. Nothing in this world is final unless God declares it so. A closed door is not the end. A failed opportunity is not the conclusion. A broken heart is not your destiny. These are not stopping points, they are transitions. And transitions are always uncomfortable. They stretch your soul. They test your foundation. But if you hold on to God, if you keep walking, even with trembling legs, He will reveal what the struggle was preparing you for. God allows pressure not to crush you, but to uncover what's within you. Faith isn't proven in ease. It is proven in adversity. Strength doesn't rise when the wind is calm. It rises when the storm is at its fiercest. And what God is doing in your life right now is birthing something that cannot be destroyed by external conditions. He is building endurance that won't crumble when others fold. He's developing vision that can see past the smoke, past the noise, past the confusion. And some of you listening to this right now, you've been feeling overlooked. You've watched others rise while you remain hidden. You've seen doors swing open for people who barely put in the effort, while yours remain sealed shut. But let me tell you the truth. The longer the preparation, the greater the impact. When God hides you, it's not because you are forgotten, it's because you are being fortified. You are being shaped into someone who
who can handle the weight of the blessing that's coming. Because what God is about to release in your life is not a surface level moment. It's a foundation shifting, destiny aligning breakthrough. It's not just to impress others, it's to fulfill His plan. It's not to boost your pride, it's to glorify His power. And when it comes, it will carry weight. It will carry purpose. It will change not just your life, but those around you. Because when God makes a way, it ripples beyond you. Your obedience becomes a testimony. Your endurance becomes a light. Your belief becomes a catalyst for others to believe again. And I say this with love, but with holy urgency. Stop minimizing what God can do through you. Stop letting past failures define your future. Stop allowing other people's opinions to chain your vision. God has already declared your worth. He has already authored your future. You are not an accident. You are not too late. You are not too far gone. The breath in your lungs is proof that your assignment is not complete. And if God is still writing, who are you to close the book? God does not consult your history to determine your destiny. His power is not limited by your past. He specializes in using the unlikely. He chooses the underestimated. He elevates the quiet ones. Because when it's all said and done, only God can get the glory. When no one believed in you, but God lifted you, then it's undeniable. When every odd was against you, but you rose anyway, then it's clear that it was God alone who made the way. So open your eyes not to what's going wrong, but to what is still possible. Open your ears not to the noise of the doubters, but to the whisper of God's promise. Open your heart not to fear, but to faith, because God is not done. He is still working. He is still moving. He is still moving. He is still turning dry seasons into rivers, dead ends into exits, ashes into crowns. And when it comes, when the miracle arrives, when the way is finally open, you'll see that every delay had a purpose. You'll realize that what you thought was unanswered was actually being orchestrated behind the scenes. Every tear was watering the soil. Every prayer was setting the atmosphere. Every step of obedience, even when you didn't understand, it was building a path straight to your breakthrough. And in that moment, you will weep, not out of sorrow, but out of awe. You'll say, "Now I see, now I understand." It was never just about the miracle. It was about the journey. It was about the shaping. It was about knowing my God, not just through blessings, but through fire, through pressure, through surrender. So press on. Don't stop. Don't back down. Don't curse the process. Don't let go of the promise. God's word will not return void. His hand will not falter. His plan will not fail. The way is being made, not by your might, not by your logic, not by your connections, but by the power of the Almighty. Believe again, hope again, pray again, walk again, even if it's slow, even if it hurts, even if you can't see the outcome. Walk, speak, trust, because God will make a way. And when He does, nothing will be the same. Not your heart, not your story, not your future. For when the Creator of all opens a door, it stays open. No man can shut what God has chosen to release. Stand in that promise, cling to that fire, and know your miracle is not far. It's closer than it's ever been, and it's coming. Not because you are worthy, but because God is faithful, always faithful, forever faithful, eternally faithful, and He is making a way for you right now.
So now, as you stand at the edge of all you've been through, with the weight of waiting heavy and the question still echoing in your soul, let this truth burn like a fire within you. God will make a way. Not might, not maybe, not maybe. What He has promised, He will fulfill. What He has spoken over your life, He will bring to pass. The delays did not cancel it. The setbacks did not erase it. The silence did not silence Him. His plan is still intact. His hand is still over you. And the way, though you cannot see it yet, is already being carved through the wilderness. Do not let the noise of this world shake you. Stay grounded in who God is. He is not a distant spectator to your suffering. He is the very author of your deliverance. He sees your situation. He knows every need in your heart. The next chapter of your story is already written by His hand. All He asks is that you believe fiercely, persistently, unshakably. Believe that God will accomplish what only He can. Lift your gaze, dry your tears, take one more step in faith. Speak hope, speak victory, speak expectation. God is working behind the scenes, aligning everything in your favor, and your miracle is already on its way. When it happens, when the doors open, when the breakthrough arrives, when light floods the path before you, stand still in awe. Remember, it was never your strength, never your plan, never your influence. It was God, only God, always God. Believe in miracles. God will make a way for you.